Transactional operations. In this nugget, we're going to talk about Windows PowerShell version 2's support for transacted or transactional operations. We'll start by talking about what a transaction is and talk about the relationship between transactional capability and the PSDrive providers. That is what Windows PowerShell uses to adapt different forms of storage. And once we've kind of gotten those basics out of the way, we'll look at a few different ways of using transactions, managing transactions, nested transactions, and I'll give you some examples for where you might actually use these things in the real world today. So let's start by talking at a high level about what a transaction actually is. Let's say that you've got some process that you need to complete. That's some big multi-step process, and you kind of need everything to work or nothing. So you come in, you do the first step, number 1. You do the second step, number 2. You do the third step, number 3, and something goes wrong. 3 didn't work. Maybe you didn't have permission, maybe things weren't lined up in the right position first, but the point is, now you've got 1 and 2 that are done, and you can't do 3. So now you have to go manually undo number 2, and you have to manually undo number 1, so that you haven't left any orphan footprints laying around the system. Well, transactions are designed to make all of that a little bit easier and more automatic. You explicitly start the transaction. Then you perform your first operation. Then you perform your second operation. Then you perform your third operation. Oh, wait, that didn't work. No problem. You roll back or undo the transaction, and the system automatically takes you back to this point. This and this and this never happened. Automatically. Or alternatively, let's say you start your transaction and you do 1, and you do 2, and you do 3, and it works this time, and then you do 4, and then you're done. So then you explicitly tell the system that you are complete. And then it goes through and makes all of these things permanent. So Windows PowerShell's support for transactions comes through its PSDrive providers. And if you recall, a PSDrive provider is designed to sit between the shell and some form of storage. So we've got the shell here, and we've got some kind of storage here. And in between the two, we have a PSDrive provider. And the provider is what makes it look like a file system or a disk drive to the shell, regardless of what the underlying storage looks like. Now, PowerShell comes with several different PSDrive providers. In fact, let's hop over to the shell and take a look at how this works. We'll run get PSDrive so we can see all the drives that are attached. And I've got the file system drive, the file system provider, which is adapting the D, the C, and the A drives to look like drives, which isn't a lot of work since they already are. I've also got the registry provider, and that is adapting the registry to look like a disk drive so that I can say cd hklm for hkey local machine and get a directory and things I don't have permission to, cd software, get a directory, and so forth. So I can treat these things like a disk drive. These things can be added in too. For example, if I import the Active Directory module, import module Active Directory, this is going to take a little bit of time for it to load up and get going. There we go. And it's going to map a drive to the AD drive. So now if I run get PSDrive, I've got this AD drive, which is the Active Directory provider. And I can cd AD and get a directory and so forth. So you have lots of these PSDrive providers. Now, the idea with transactions is that the provider itself has to support transactions. This isn't something universal because some different types of storage are just inherently not designed to provide transactions. So there's a little command you can run, and I had that on the clipboard because it's hard to type. I'm going to get PS provider, which is actually getting a list of the PSDrive providers on the system. So that would be providers like certificate, registry, Active Directory, and so forth. And it's going to filter it so that I'm only getting the ones whose capabilities property have the word transactions. This will tell me which providers support transactions. And on this computer, it's just the registry. Now that can be different from computer to computer. The registry gained transactional capabilities in Windows 7 and Windows Server 2008. Those are only accessible through PowerShell if you have at least version 3.5 of the Microsoft .NET framework, because that's the version of the framework that recognized the existence of transactions and provided a means to work with them. Other computers might have different providers with that capability. So what I want to walk you through is a sort of a look at how this works. Now it's in the registry, so that makes me a little nervous. Let's go to HKCU. Hopefully I can mess up less there. And I've got this portion of the registry, software sapien file dialog, that has one thing in it, favorites. I'm hoping that if I delete this by accident, I won't mess up the world. But let's try it. I'm going to start a transaction. Now this is a neat little warning here. Once a transaction is started, only commands that get called with the -use_transaction parameter are a part of that transaction. So this transaction is global across the shell. If I go back to the C drive and I run, let's see what I've gotten here to delete. I del debug.ps1. Get a directory. Okay, just remember that I did that. Now I didn't use the use transaction, so that file is actually gone. It's not part of the transaction. It's not part of that list of steps that the shell is keeping track of. Let's do del log.txt and tell it to use transaction. This provider, which I already knew, the file system provider, does not support transactions. Try again without using the -use transaction parameter. So that's on the file system on this computer, not transactional. So let's go back to HKCU, del favorites -use transaction. Okay, it did it. Now that I'm in the middle of the transaction, I've actually got a couple of choices. If I'm done, I can run the complete transaction command, and everything I've done here will become permanent. I'm not. I'm going to run undo transaction. Now let's get a directory listing. Favorites is still there. And that's the really neat part about transactions, is the shell took care of undoing everything for me. Go back to the C drive. You notice that debug ps1 is gone because it was never part of a transaction. I didn't use the -use transaction parameter, and because this is the file system and on this computer it's not transactional, even if I had used that parameter it wouldn't have worked. So let's go back to HKCU and let's start another transaction. And now we're going to delete favorites using the transaction. Get a directory listing. Okay, still seems to be there because it's not actually gone yet. If I complete the transaction and get a directory listing, now it's gone. Doesn't exist anymore because it actually saved that. There's a couple of other neat things you can do. Let me back one up. And this -use transaction is really an important parameter, and it's weird in a couple of ways. For one, let me just look at the help for Dell. And you can see -use transaction. Let's look at the help for dir. Oops. Help dir. And it has a use transaction. So earlier, when I deleted and then got a directory listing and the file still showed up, it's because I didn't tell the directory listing to use the transaction. It was reading the base underlying registry rather than the version of the registry that had been filtered by the transaction. So that's kind of an important point. You can really mess yourself up if you forget that everything needs to use the -use transaction, or it won't see the transaction either. All right, so clear the screen. And get a directory listing. So back up one level, I've got this file dialog area, and it's got view state, active panel, and these other keys. So let's start another transaction. And this time I'm going to delete file dialog, telling it to use the transaction. It did. Get a directory listing, it's still there, but if I get a directory listing and use the transaction, and spell it correctly, it's gone. So you can see the difference. This is the real file system, well, registry as it exists right now, and this is the one that's been filtered through what I've done in the transaction. Undo transaction, and it's gone. So that's kind of a neat little thing, definitely a little caveat to get used to and keep in mind. Now let's look at the help for start transaction. You'll notice that there's this dash independent, and let me tell you how that works. You can only have one transaction that's the current one at any given time. There can only be one active transaction. So let's say I start one. I can then do a bunch of operations and start another independent one. That new nested transaction becomes the active one, and then I can't do anything with the first one until I finish the second one. Yeah, that's confusing. Drawing time. So here's what I meant by that. We're going to, oops, I want to use green. Green. Start. And then I'm going to do operation 1 and then 2. And then I'm going to start another one. And you have to use the dash independent. And independent. If you don't, then this doesn't really have any meaning because you're already in a transaction. And then I'm going to do 3, and then I'm going to do 4, and then I can undo the transaction. That takes me back to this point where I could do a different task 3, and then I could complete. And at that point, the only things that are real is this, and this. That can get really confusing because there's not a lot of visual cues inside of the shell to let you know how deeply you're nested. If you're going to really play with this functionality, I kind of recommend sticking with like one level of transaction if that's at all possible. And why might you play with this functionality? Well, let's say you're writing a script that's going to provision a bunch of computers and it's going to do a bunch of stuff in the registry, and you want each group of things it does to be atomic. In other words, you either want all of those to commit or you don't want any of them to exist. So that's what a transaction lets you do. Now eventually we'll have widespread transactional file system, registry, who knows. SQL Server might jump on board since it already has native support for transactions anyway. You might find that Active Directory picks that up since it sort of has some transactional support in its database as well. So as this starts spreading out, the techniques become a lot more useful. Although, for things like desktop deployments and maintenance and stuff like that, even just having a transactional registry can still be pretty useful. So that's what that dash independent is all about. And now let's look at help undo transaction. Not a lot here. It just undoes or rolls back the active transaction. And the last one is help complete transaction. Again, not much fun. It simply commits or completes the active transaction. Get command noun transaction. The only other thing you've got is get transaction and use transaction. Now, get transaction just gets a list of active transactions, and that's about the only way you can really see what's going on. And I do have an active transaction, but it was rolled back, you can see. And then use transaction just takes a script block and adds it to whatever the active transaction is. In other words, instead of running a command dash use transaction, you can pass the command to this, and it'll have the same effect. Frankly, I never use this. I find it easier just to use the dash use transaction. But, you can work it however you want to work it. The only other cool thing here, I think, is this. Let me just run get transaction again. Now again, this is just going to show you the active transaction, the most recent one. So it's only ever going to return one object. But what I want to point out is this rollback preference. Let's look at start transaction again. And when you create a new transaction, you can specify a rollback preference. What this does is it says if an error occurs, automatically roll back the transaction. If a terminating error occurs, in other words, an error that PowerShell can't recover from, automatically roll back the transaction. Don't even wait for me to tell you to do it, just do it automatically. The default is never, which means it will never roll it back automatically unless you tell it to. At least that's the default I always stick with in here. So working with transactions, just a few commandlets to worry about. GCM now and transaction again. Mostly you're going to be using start, undo, and complete. Get will get the most recent one, and use is sort of an alternate way to execute commands within the current transaction. In this nugget, we've talked about PowerShell version 2's support for transacted operations. We talked about what transactions are, and they're basically just a way of wrapping up multiple different discrete operations into a single atomic unit that either completes as a set or does not complete at all. We talked about the relationship between transactional support and PSDrive providers. Because transactions affect storage, PowerShell has to go through PSDrive providers to get to the storage, and the PSDrive provider has to explicitly support transactional operations or not. The first thing we have that supports transactional operations is the registry, and that's been true since Windows Vista, Windows Server 2008, all the way through Windows 7 and Windows Server 2008 R2 and later. But other PSDrive providers can support transactions going forward. And finally, we looked at ways of using transactions. Get transaction, start transaction, complete transaction, undo transaction. We even talked a little bit about nested transactions and how those can be tricky to work with, but you can do it if you really need to. I hope this has been informative for you.